Hello people on my phone, welcome to another cozy day in my life / reading vlog. I'm just going to dedicate some time over the next couple of days to reading some of my January TBR. I'm reading one book at the moment. I'd like to maybe read another book. Today, me, Connie and Ethan are going to our favourite coffee shop. I have my first brand collaboration with Lensmart, who have sent me these glasses and another pair. This video is not sponsored, but I do have an affiliate link in the description and you can use my code ROBINR for 15% off. And as part of the collaboration, I need to post on Instagram. So we're gonna go and get Instagram pictures basically. So I'm very excited for that. I'm also very excited to get a coffee. I think I'm gonna get an iced coffee because it is warm today. But yeah, aside from that, we're just gonna be in Canterbury town today. Tomorrow, me and Connie are volunteering in the bookshop, so we'll be there. So that's my plan for today. The book I'm currently reading is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. I'm about to start Act 1, Scene 3. I love so far how explicit this theme of the corruption of the kingdom is shown. I think Shakespeare so brilliantly looks at diseased bodies, especially in terms of monarchies, not just civilians. If you didn't already know, King Lear is my favourite Shakespeare play, and that really lends itself to that theme. So I'm already really enjoying Hamlet. The themes I'm annotating for are important and memorable quotes, the impossibility of certainty in action versus inaction, the mystery of death and commentary on mortality, the nation is a diseased body and corruption and decay, and then finally performance, madness and doubt. Honestly, I think these themes would really work well in King Lear as well, which is probably why I'm enjoying Hamlet so much. But for my annual goal of reading one Shakespeare play per month, I think I'm off to a good start. So I'm going to go now and I will see you in town. Hey guys, I'm back and I'm comfy. I just came back to my accommodation to 3 parcels. I filmed a unboxing on TikTok, but I'll just show you what I got. 4 books and a reading journal. I'll start with the books because they're for university, and also I can give you a bit of a reading update. The 2 I haven't started are Tennyson's selected poems and Rossetti's selected poems. I have to read both of these for university in the upcoming weeks, so I wanted a physical copy because it's just easier to annotate and then also in class to just write on the page. I'm so excited for this. Connie has studied Rossetti before and swears by it, so I'm excited to finally read it, and I feel like Tennyson is classic, so these 2 are actually the same, one's for me, one's for Connie. This is Robert Browning's selected poems, which I'm also currently reading. I never really know how to count poetry. If I read a full little collection, I can kind of say I've read it, but when it comes down to a full collection like this, like selected poems, I don't really know if I should count it towards my reading goal. For context, I studied Browning for GCSE and A-level. We studied My Last Duchess for both, and then we studied some more for A-level. We're doing Browning next week for university, so that's including My Last Duchess. I'm hoping that this has got all of the selected poems that I need. I think we're studying 5. Okay, this has got all 5 that we need. The 3 that I've already read are Porphyria's Lover, My Last Duchess, and Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came. I'm gonna do a whole TikTok video on annotating Robert Browning because Childe Roland is based on Edgar in King Lear, which excites me so much because that's my favourite Shakespeare play. I'm so excited to have a physical copy of this. I think Browning is probably one of my favourite poets. I think he's just got such a brilliant way with words. Of course, he talks so much about classism and love, but the way that these 2 things are interconnected is incredible. His crime writing especially is brilliant. That's what I've studied. Of course, My Last Duchess and Porphyria's Lover all links crime, class, love. I'm just so excited. I don't really know how to express it, but I like Robert Browning a lot. I won't be talking in my seminar because it's me, but if I was to talk in any, it would probably be this one. Oh, I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. Something else exciting is this last parcel. This is PR from a brand called Clever Fox who do journals, and they sent me this reading journal. I might show you later how I use it, but I'm also going to make a TikTok, I think, of how I'm structuring this because I plan on using it for the fiction I read, but also the poetry and the articles and essays I read for university and my video essays, which are currently in the works. I don't know when they'll come out, but I've got 2 that I'm kind of thinking of, one that I'm working on, one I'm thinking of. So I think this is going to come in so handy, especially because I'm slowing down my reading this year. I think it will be interesting to have such a physical, analog sense of what I'm reading. I'd also like to include a list of things I'd like to research further because so many times I think, oh yeah, I'll research that, but then I don't. Because having it written down will make it so much easier to say, I've got these 3 books I've read, they've all got this similar theme that I'd like to research. Let me do that in like one session. Let me put these things together and collate that information. I'm so excited to have a proper reading journal that I can put this effort into. But for now, that is my haul. We had a lot of fun in town. I got some really lovely pictures which will be up on my Instagram soon for my collaboration with Lensmart. I didn't end up getting any reading done, but hopefully today, my plan for right now is to hopefully read some more Hamlet or to add my annotations from Robert Browning online onto my book, because I've got all of my notes typed up, but I'd like to put them on there so that I can, if needed, talk in my seminar. So that's my plan. I will see you later on, but I'm gonna go. I don't have like an immediate plan, but I have nothing else to say. So I'll see you later. Hello people on my phone, it's now Sunday evening, so I wanted to give you a reading update and show you my reading journal. I did my volunteering at the bookshop today and it was very fun, but I also did get some reading done, so I'm gonna tell you about it. I've got my tray here which I can keep putting my books on. I love it so much. I'm gonna put the tray back though. I'll start with Hamlet. I'm on Act 1, Scene 4. Granted, I've not read much since I saw you last, but we have now met Ophelia. Her characterization is already so incredible. I would love to see this as a play. But Ophelia's characterization is so incredible, especially in parallel to the characterization of the kingdom. It's so intriguing, especially in terms of femininity, how she's compared to this flower, or of course the floral imagery with Ophelia, in the same breath as the kingdom being compared to this corrupted bit of land, both in terms of corruption of land as a metaphorical thing, but also just the monarchy is struggling. I'm also finding this to be similar to King Lear, which I wasn't really expecting, but the ideas of family, the domestic relationships in Hamlet are very reminiscent of King Lear for me, which I love because of course I love King Lear. So reading this is just so incredible. Oh, I suppose as well with Ophelia, the way that the male characters in this play truly control her life, it's horrendous. She's got these different levels of affection coming from 3 different men. I mean, her father, her brother, and then Hamlet, her lover. She doesn't know who to believe. She's pulling herself apart in all of these different directions, and at some point she's just going to become such an unstable force. I'm so interested to see how that's portrayed, and of course the ending of the play. Of course I haven't actually read that much more since I saw you last, so I haven't really got much more to say. I think it was like 10 pages, but I've met Ophelia, and of course that's such an important plot point of Hamlet. Again, I'm just happy that I'm reading Hamlet. I'm reading more Shakespeare. It's kind of my only opinion. The next book I'm reading, I've started putting my annotations in for Robert Browning. I put on the top, you can't even see in this light, oh maybe you can, I put on the top the tabs for the 5 poems that we're doing. I've currently annotated Porphyria's Lover and My Last Duchess because they're the 2 I did for A-level. I haven't annotated them crazily because I know that when we talk about them, oh this site's got more, when I talk about them in my seminar, I say I as if I'm going to talk, when we discuss it in seminars, I'm going to have so many more things to say. I think we're doing My Last Duchess and Charles Roland in my seminar, and then the other 3 in my lecture. Regardless, I'm going to have so much I want to write down, I just know it. I'm so excited. I have read Charles Roland fully, but I haven't added my annotations in yet, and then I've still got Fra Lippo Lippi and Caliban upon Setebos. And now for my reading journal, I decorated it this morning before I went to volunteering, and I filmed a decorating video. It's so cute. I got this book sticker, the typewriter, and then this little movie thing, I don't know what they're called, on the packaging that it comes with, and then I put some butterflies in frames and some floral stuff on it. I'm doing an index of every single book I read in the year, so currently Oliver Twist and Morning and Evening. I've also decided that I'm not going to be writing every single book I read in this, simply because I also want to include the articles I read if they're particularly engaging. So when I do the review pages, primarily it's going to be for the ones I want to put more research into. The way that it's laid out is really interesting. I love it a lot. Oh, I forgot to say, in my tracker at the start of the year for every single book, I'm going to color code it between, I think, poetry, fiction and non-fiction, just so I can kind of see what I'm reading. But then back to this, you also do the themes. So for Morning and Evening, I done mortality and the intimacy of life. And then I did a short review. And then this section here is kind of what I'm most interested in. It's basically a blank page to write any of your thoughts. So I've just done a list of things I want to research further. So for morning and evening, I'd like to overarchingly research narrative theory, and from that, like a subsection, dual timelines, how much we learn about people from their surrounding perception rather than just their own perspective of life, which links in very nicely with this idea that me and Connie have been talking about a lot lately with our pieces for the uni newspaper. And it's the idea that people are mosaics of the things that they surround themselves with, and this book definitely lends itself to that. But then in the same breath, I would say that the other things I'm researching are kind of on the other side of this. There's this omniscience of narrative, but also the irony of this: the reader knows more than the characters. This seemingly post-death scenario, the character is so unaware, but there are so many hints and names and things that are referenced that you go, oh, but I know that, but he doesn't. And because of that, the fact that you know him more than he knows himself is also incredibly intimate, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So I'm excited to have morning and evening in my reading journal. I think this is going to be such a useful way for me to keep track of course, my reading, but of course also my non-fiction reading and things I want to research, because that is something I'm so looking forward to in this new year. But for now, it's a little bit earlier than I normally would, but I can hear both of my friends in the kitchen. So one of them's crashing pounds around. I'm gonna go and investigate and probably read some more of Hamlet, and then I think me and Ethan want to finish season 2 of Billy the Kid tonight. So might do that. And also Connie is currently reading Perfume, so I'd like her thoughts if she's read any more of that. I'm gonna go and see my friends and read Shakespeare, because Shakespeare is a friend, okay? I love him. So I will see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow if I leave the house. If not, you'll still see me. I'll just be sat here again. So, bye. Hey guys, it's Monday afternoon now. I haven't read much more. I've been relatively unproductive, I feel, this morning. I think I finished the last clip saying that I was going to be sat here again. So I'm here. It's decent weather outside and I want to do some reading, and I feel like I get the most reading done when I force myself out of my room to sit down and read a book. So that's my plan for the afternoon. I did do some reading this morning. I completely finished The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. It's not much of a feat because my version is 12 pages long, but we read the introduction to it in our seminar for creative writing last week, and we had to guess which of the excerpts we read were crime novels. And I said to the group I was with that I thought this one was a crime novel. For me, the beginning felt very reminiscent of When Will There Be Good News by Kate Atkinson. It's again this small town, which is a very key element of crime writing, and it all seems very domestic and safe. But there are references to boys collecting pebbles and children lining up. The organisational aspects of it was something we spoke about in the seminar, and I think that was very clearly a hint to, I don't know, something structural to do with crime. And apparently I was correct, because it is a crime novella. Is it even considered a novella if it's 10 pages? Regardless though, I rated it 3.5 stars. It was very engaging in this relatively monotone way of speaking, but I quite liked that. I think it was very good at building this tense atmosphere, and the ending wasn't anything I suspected at all. There was also this building of tension because it's referenced throughout that with this lottery, it should be the young men that choose. Like, it should be them that go up and take the thing from the lottery. So I was thinking it must be something criminal or something that's supposedly for strong people, because it's very much building up this stereotypical gender roles of their society. Also, I think it's such an interesting thought piece on humanity and conformity as well, which you won't really get if you read it, but please do read it. It's like 10 pages, it's fine. Which means I've finished now 3 books in January, so I'm quite happy with that. I also added my annotations in to Childe Roland from Robert Browning, and I'm hopefully gonna finish. But when I go on my walk, I'm going to take Browning, but I don't know if I'll read him. I am going to be reading Hamlet, because if you're watching this and you've been watching me for a while, when I filmed my university vlogs last year, there's a little pond on campus, and I had lectures there like once a week for a semester, and there were ducks in the pond, and I feel like the pond, Hamlet, Ophelia, it links, and I miss the ducks. So I'm going to go. I'm also going to try and get some lunch, I think. My main goal is just to sit and do some reading for Hamlet. For the people in my phone, welcome to my final reading update of this video. I did go on my walk and I did some reading. Honestly, I didn't read loads because it was quite cold outside. I've got my blanket now and it was quite difficult to annotate whilst my hands were freezing, so I didn't stay out for long. I am, however, currently on Act 2 of Hamlet, so I did get some done today. I think that because earlier I was talking about the separate characterization of Hamlet and Ophelia, it's quite interesting that now a whole act in, Hamlet hasn't mentioned Ophelia once. I'm seeing a lot of Hamlet and Hamlet videos at the moment, so I'm kind of getting spoilers, but also, you know, Shakespeare, he's old, so it's not a big deal, but I am getting hints at the plot. And I saw someone say that Hamlet and Ophelia, it's an argument on whether or not they're in love. And I hadn't really considered that before because in my head I was just thinking it's a tragic romance, they're in love, it's not going to end well. But I'd never really considered the fact that it could be one-sided, it could be a comedic thing, it could be that they're both in on it. And I think that looking at it through that lens is also incredibly interesting. Another parallel between Hamlet and Ophelia that I quite like is their reactions to their fathers. Of course, I already spoke earlier about how Ophelia reacts to her father and her brother, but now where Hamlet is meeting the ghost of his father, there is also this really interesting, I suppose, imagery. There's a lot of religious and biblical allusions going on at the same time, but all in all, it's really lending itself to the ideas of the corruption of kingdom, which I'm assuming is one of the overarching ideas of this play, given how much of it I'm picking up on just one act. More generally speaking, I just love reading Shakespeare. He's got such a perfect tone and cadence in the way that he writes. I don't know if there will ever be a tragic Shakespeare play that I don't enjoy. Tragedy is something I already enjoy so much, but the way that he writes it is always so evocative. I think Hamlet could be up there with one of my favourites, and just reading this is making me so excited for my year-long goal of reading one Shakespeare play per month. I'm so excited to just fall into his words and just love it so much. But those are my thoughts on Hamlet so far. I didn't end up reading any more Robert Browning today because my lecture for that is later on in the week. The other module I'm doing is of course my creative writing module, so I read 2 more short stories. Firstly, I read Adventure by Sherwood Anderson. I didn't rate these 2, but I thought that Adventure was quite compelling. The way that it talks about how being in a small town, being by yourself is of course quite isolating. There were some nice quotes that I thought, wow, that's so me, but it wasn't something that I felt had a particular message about it. It also read quite misogynistically. And there's also this theme of appearance versus reality, which I feel like has come up in something I've read at some point over the last couple of years as well that I quite appreciated. The way she's presented as this very beautiful woman, but inside she's perceived or implied to be quite grotesque. But that's primarily through this obsessive nature that she has towards love, and it feels quite, again, misogynistic to be demonizing women and how they express love. So again, it was a compelling read. It was just, I wish there was more. There wasn't so much of a structure to it. It was more just her reminiscing on, I suppose it's quite good in that sense for girlhood, but it's more just her reminiscing on, oh, he's off in the city and I'm by myself. So it wasn't, there could have been more to it to make it more intriguing, but I don't know if I'd want to read a full novel of it, so my opinions are relevant regardless. And the final short story that I read is called Psychology by Catherine Mansfield. This one was good in terms of its exploration of misconnections and internal conflicts. I liked it from the perspective of someone creative, in the fact that these are both 2 creative individuals talking about art and love. And because of this, I also appreciated the dialogue, especially the structure of the dialogue. There's the things that they are explicitly saying to one another, but also this internal dialogue that's written as speech. It reads as though it's free and direct discourse that they've put into proper dialogue, which I think is quite intriguing. It's something that perhaps I will implement in my own writing for this module. But again, it's not something I'm going to rate because it didn't hit like Shirley Jackson. But regardless, those are all of the things I've read over the past few days. I wish I'd read more articles so that I could include some of the non-fiction reading that I'm doing. But hopefully at some point soon I will have my vampiric literature video essay coming out, so then you'll be able to see more of the non-fiction and articles that I read. I'm seeing Hamlet in cinema tomorrow, which I'm very excited for, and I think I'm going to include that in my Hamlet reading vlog for TikTok. I've got some other content about my brand collaborations over on Instagram and TikTok, which are both in my description, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!